All right, so you know how we're always talking about diving deep into things?
Mhm.
Well, today we're going deep on something you might not think about too much, but it's kind of a big deal,
Okay, I'm intrigued.
especially if you're a homeowner, here in Northern California.
Right.
We're talking about HVAC systems.
Oh, okay. The heart of a comfortable home.
Exactly. And we've got this awesome guide all about the top 5 signs. Your system is basically waving a red flag saying, "Help me."
That's a good way to put it because often we ignore those signs until it's a major problem.
That's the thing, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to wait till your AC goes kaput in the middle of a heat wave.
No, absolutely not. Prevention is key with these
So
systems.
that's our mission today, to become like HVAC detectives,
I like that.
learning the language of our heating and cooling so we can spot those little issues.
The subtle whispers before they become scream.
Exactly, before they turn into those, big expensive meltdowns.
Yeah, nobody wants that.
All right. So let's start with something we can all relate to, weird noises.
Oh, yeah, those can be unsettling.
This guide mentions a bunch of them: banging, rattling, hissing.
Like a horror movie soundtrack.
Right. It's like, what's going on in there? But seriously, are these just annoyances, or are they trying to tell us something specific?
Oh, they're definitely trying to tell you something. Each sound offers a clue about what might be going on inside your system.
Okay, so let's decode them. Banging, for instance.
Yeah.
What's that all about?
Well, banging often indicates loose or broken parts. Could be something as simple as a loose blower motor mount.
So it's vibrating against the housing.
Exactly, creating that knocking sound.
So it's not always a major catastrophe, but definitely worth investigating.
Absolutely. Early detection can save you a lot of headaches down the road.
Makes sense. Now, what about that high-pitched squealing? I swear that sends chills down my spine.
That one's usually a sign of belt or motor bearing issues. Think of it like the sound a car makes when the fan belt is worn out.
Okay, so kind of like a screeching sound.
Right. And it's a warning sign that those components are wearing down and need attention.
Now, hissing, that's a sound that always makes me nervous. What could that be signaling?
Hissing can be a bit tricky because it could be a few things. One possibility is a refrigerant leak, which is definitely a serious problem.
Because refrigerant is what makes the whole system work right.
Exactly. It's what allows your system to cool the air.
So if it's leaking,
You're not going to get that nice, cool air you're paying for.
but it could also be something simpler, right?
Yeah, it could also be something like a leak in the ductwork, which is still something you want to get checked out.
Of course, because you don't want your cooled air escaping into the attic or somewhere it's not supposed to be.
Right. It's about efficiency and making sure your system is working optimally.
Okay, so hissing warrants a closer look, but not necessarily panic.
Exactly. It's a sign to investigate further, but don't jump to conclusions.
Got it. So any unusual noise from your HVAC system is basically a little tap on the shoulder saying, "Hey, pay attention to me."
That's a great way to put it. Your system is talking to you.
And it's usually better to listen sooner rather than later.
Absolutely. Ignoring those signs can lead to much bigger problems down the road.
Okay, so we've covered the auditory red flags, but what about those times when the problem isn't so much a sound, but a feeling?
Interesting. What are you thinking of?
I'm talking about temperature inconsistencies.
Yeah.
One room's an icebox, the next is a sauna. It's like climate zone roulette.
Oh, yeah. I've definitely experienced that before.
So what's going on there? Why can't my house just make up its mind about what temperature it wants to be?
Well, there are a few usual suspects when it comes to uneven heating or cooling. One common culprit is blocked or leaking ductwork.
Ah, the ductwork. The unsung heroes of the HVAC world.
Right. They're like the airways of your system.
Carrying the conditioned air throughout your house.
Exactly. And if
That-
they're obstructed or leaking, the air won't flow properly.
So it's like having a clogged artery in your HVAC system.
That's a good analogy. Restricted airflow means some rooms get too much and others don't get enough.
Leading to that frustrating temperature imbalance.
Right. And another possibility is a malfunctioning thermostat.
Ah, the brain of the operation.
Exactly. It's the control center telling the system when to heat or cool.
So if the thermostat's wonky, it can't send the right signals.
And that can lead to those temperature swings you're talking about.
Now, sometimes, could it just be that the system itself isn't powerful enough for the house?
Yes, that's definitely another possibility. If the HVAC system is undersized, it's going to struggle to keep up.
Especially in a place like California where we have those extreme temperature swings.
Right. It's like asking a small engine to power a big truck. It's just not going to work efficiently.
So if your house is playing temperature hot potato, the best bet is to call in a pro for a diagnosis.
Absolutely.
Right.
They can assess the situation and determine the root cause of the problem.
Got it. Now, what about when your HVAC system starts acting like a fitness fanatic, constantly turning on and off?
Ah, frequent cycling.
Yeah, it's like the system is doing sprints instead of a steady jog. What's the deal with that?
Oh, it's not good for the system, that's for sure.
I imagine it's not very energy efficient either.
Right. Frequent cycling puts a lot of wear and tear on your system and can drive up your energy bills.
So what are the usual suspects behind this HVAC workout craze?
One of the most common is a dirty air filter.
The good old air filter always causing trouble.
It's easy to forget about, but a clogged air filter restricts airflow, forcing the system to work harder and cycle more frequently.
So it's like trying to breathe through a straw while running a marathon.
Exactly. And just like with the hissing sound, refrigerant issues can also play a role.
If the refrigerant levels are low or there's a leak.
It can disrupt the cooling process and cause the system to cycle on and off more frequently.
Now, could a faulty thermostat also be contributing to this problem?
You're right on the money. A malfunctioning thermostat can throw the whole system off, causing it to work harder than it needs to.
So it's sending mixed signals, basically.
Exactly, and that leads to more frequent cycling.
Okay, so if your HVAC system is behaving erratically, it's time to call in the pro for a checkup.
It's always better to be safe than sorry.
But is frequent cycling just annoying, or is there a more serious side to this HVAC workout?
Oh, it's definitely more than just a nuisance. Frequent cycling puts stress on your system, leading to premature wear and tear on components.
And potentially shortening its lifespan.
Exactly. It's like running your car engine at high RPMs all the time.
It's going to burn out faster.
Right, and then you're looking at a much bigger repair bill down the line.
Not to mention the hit your energy bill takes.
Yeah.
All that extra work has to translate into higher energy consumption, right?
You got it. Frequent cycling means your system is using more energy, and that means higher costs for you.
Okay, so addressing frequent cycling is key to keeping your HVAC system happy, healthy, and your wallet intact.
Couldn't agree more.
But what about when the problem hits you right where it hurts in your bank account?
Oh, I know that feeling.
We've all been there. You open your energy bill and it's sky high, but you haven't been using the AC or heat any more than usual.
So what gives?
Right. Where did all that extra energy usage come from?
Well, that's the mystery, isn't it? A sudden spike in your energy bill usually means your HVAC system is working inefficiently, kind of like a car engine that's burning too much fuel.
So it's not necessarily that you're using more energy, but rather that the system's wasting it.
Exactly. It's like having a leaky faucet that's constantly dripping water. You're paying for water you're not even using.
And with HVAC, those inefficiencies can come from a lot of places, right?
Oh, absolutely. Clogged air filters are a big one, of course, but leaks in the ductwork, outdated components, or even improper insulation can all contribute to those higher bills.
It's like a domino effect. One small problem can trigger a chain reaction of energy waste. So what can we do? Is it just about fixing those obvious problems, or are there more subtle ways to improve efficiency?
Well, regular maintenance is key. We've already talked about air filters and addressing those obvious issues, but think of it like getting your car tuned up. A well-maintained system just runs more efficiently, plain and simple.
Makes sense. But what about for those of us who aren't quite ready to shell out for a whole new system? Any tips for squeezing more efficiency out of an older one?
Absolutely. Even older systems can benefit from some TLC. Simple things like cleaning the condenser coils outside can make a big difference.
The condenser coils, those are the ones outside.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, those are the ones responsible for releasing heat. And if they're covered in dirt and debris, the system has to work harder to do its job.
So it's like giving your system a chance to breathe.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of proper insulation. A well-insulated home keeps the conditioned air in and the outside temperatures out, which reduces the workload on your HVAC system.
Less work means less energy used.
You got it.
Okay, so it's not always about replacing the entire system, but more about making smart choices and giving the existing one the care it needs. Now, this guide mentions something that honestly gives me the creeps, those strange smells that can sometimes waft from your HVAC system.
Yeah.
What's the deal with those, and what should we be on the lookout for?
Yeah. Unpleasant odors coming from your vents are definitely a cause for concern. And the type of smell can often provide clues about what's going on.
So it's like a smell test for your HVAC system.
Exactly. A burning smell, for instance, often indicates that components are overheating.
Yikes. That sounds serious. What about a musty odor? Does that mean my HVAC system has gone moldy?
It could be a sign of mold or mildew growth within the ductwork or the system itself,
Yeah.
and that's something you definitely want to address quickly.
Because mold spores can circulate throughout your home.
Exactly. And that can potentially cause respiratory problems.
Okay, that's not something I want to mess around with. What about that dreaded rotten egg smell? I know that's a sign of a gas leak, but could it also be coming from the HVAC system?
If you smell rotten eggs, you need to act immediately. While a gas leak can occur anywhere in your home, it's always best to err on the side of caution. Evacuate your home and call your gas company right away.
Okay, noted. So these smells are more than just unpleasant. They could be warning signs of some serious problems. All right, switching gears now, let's talk about prevention. This guide emphasizes that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of HVAC repair.
Couldn't agree more. Regular maintenance is absolutely crucial for preventing problems and extending the lifespan of your system.
So let's break down some of those preventative measures. We've talked about air filters, but is there a specific type that's best?
Well, the ideal filter depends on your needs and your home. Some filters trap basic dust and allergens, while others provide higher levels of filtration for smaller particles.
So like if you have pets or allergies, you might need a more heavy-duty filter.
Exactly. It's worth consulting with an HVAC professional to determine the best filter for your specific situation.
Now, what exactly happens during an annual HVAC tune-up? Is it like a spa day for your system?
You could say that. During a tune-up, a technician thoroughly inspects your system cleaning and lubricating parts, checking refrigerant levels, testing electrical connections, and basically making sure everything is in tip-top shape.
So they're looking for any potential problems before they become big problems.
Exactly. It's all about catching those minor issues early on.
Now, why is it so important to keep vents and registers clear? It seems like a purely aesthetic thing.
Oh, it's definitely more than just aesthetics. Blocked vents and registers restrict airflow, which forces your system to work harder. It's like trying to breathe through a pinched straw.
It's just not going to work as well.
Exactly. Keeping those vents clear ensures optimal airflow and helps your system operate efficiently.
Okay, so these seemingly small steps can actually make a big impact on your system's performance. Now, the guide also mentions investing in a programmable thermostat. How does that help save energy?
Programmable thermostats are great because they allow you to set specific temperatures for different times of day.
So you can program it to be cooler at night when you're sleeping and warmer during the day when you're away at work.
Exactly. That way you're not heating or cooling an empty house and wasting energy.
So it's like putting your HVAC system on autopilot, only it's a smart autopilot that knows your schedule.
Precisely. And you don't even have to remember to adjust the thermostat manually. It does it all for you, saving you energy and money.
Talk about a win-win. Now, what about those older HVAC systems? Are they destined to be energy hogs, or can we do something to improve their efficiency?
Well, while newer systems tend to be more efficient, there are definitely ways to boost the efficiency of an older one. Regular maintenance is crucial, as we've discussed.
Keeping it clean and tuned up.
Right, but in some cases, upgrading certain components, like the thermostat or the air handler, can provide a significant efficiency boost without replacing the whole system.
So it's not always a lost cause. It's about being strategic and making informed decisions. Okay, we've covered prevention maintenance, but what about those inevitable times when something goes wrong? How do we know when it's time to call in a pro?
That's a great question. While annual tune-ups are essential, there are certain red flags that indicate you might need to call a technician sooner.
So what should we be looking out for?
Well, unusual noises, we talked about those, uneven heating or cooling, frequent cycling higher energy bills, and those strange smells we discussed. All of those are signs that something might be amiss.
So it's all about being attuned to your system and recognizing when something's not quite right. Trust your instincts.
Exactly. Your instincts are often right on the money.
Now, what about those power outages? We all know they happen, especially here in California. What should we do to protect our HVAC systems during a power outage?
Yeah, power outage is definitely something to be prepared for, especially with how things have been going lately.
Right. It's like they're becoming more and more common.
Yeah, it's always good to have a plan. So during an outage, your HVAC system will obviously shut down because it needs electricity to run.
Makes sense.
Most important thing is to turn off your thermostat.
Oh, really? Why is that so important? I would think you'd want it ready to go when the power comes back on.
Well, you don't want your system suddenly kicking back on at full blast without you knowing. When the power comes back on, it could overload circuits or even damage the system.
So it's like giving it a moment to catch its breath before jumping back into action.
Exactly. And if you have a gas furnace, it's also a good idea to shut off the gas supply to the unit.
Just as an extra precaution.
Right, safety first, always.
Okay, so the power's back on. We've given the system a minute to chill out. Can we just flip the switch and go back to business as usual?
Not so fast. Before you turn your system back on, Take a few minutes to check for any signs of damage.
Like what kind of damage are we talking about?
Look for things like water leaks, strange smells, unusual noises, anything that seems out of the ordinary.
Okay, so it's like a post-power outage checkup for your HVAC system.
Exactly. And if you notice anything off the surface, it's best to call a qualified HVAC technician to inspect the system before you turn it back on.
Better to be safe than sorry.
Always.
Now, we've talked a lot about when to call in the pros, but are there any HVAC tasks that a homeowner can safely tackle themselves?
That's a good question. There are some basic maintenance tasks that homeowners can definitely do themselves.
Like what kinds of things?
Replacing air filters, for example, that's a simple one that can make a big difference. And cleaning vents and registers, those are things you can usually handle on your own.
Okay, so those are pretty straightforward.
Yeah, but when it comes to more complex repairs, it's generally best to leave those to the professionals.
I can imagine safety is a big concern.
Absolutely. HVAC systems involve electricity, gas, refrigerants, things that can be hazardous if not handled properly.
Right, you definitely don't want to mess around with that stuff unless you know what you're doing.
Exactly, it's not worth the risk.
So besides safety, what are some other reasons to call in the pros?
Well, HVAC systems are complex, and even seemingly simple repairs can have unintended consequences if they're not done correctly.
Oh, that.
A qualified technician has the experience and the specialized tools to diagnose and repair problems accurately and safely.
And they probably know what to look for, right?
Exactly. They can often spot potential issues that a homeowner might miss, which can prevent bigger problems down the road.
So it's not about being afraid to get your hands dirty. It's about knowing your limits and when to call in reinforcements.
I like that analogy.
Speaking of potentially scary things, let's talk about cost. HVAC repairs can be expensive, but are there ways to, soften the blow financially?
Definitely the best way to manage HVAC costs is to prioritize preventative maintenance. We talked about this earlier, but those regular tune-ups and replacing air filters can save you a lot of money in the long run.
By preventing those major breakdowns.
Exactly. It's much cheaper to maintain a healthy system than to fix a broken one.
Yeah, it's like paying for an oil change so you don't blow your car engine.
Perfect analogy. And speaking of cars, have you ever considered purchasing an HVAC maintenance plan?
I haven't really, but I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
A lot of companies offer these plans, which typically cover routine maintenance and provide discounts on repairs.
So it's like a warranty for your HVAC system.
Exactly. It gives you peace of mind and can potentially save you a lot of money if something does go wrong.
Okay, I'm definitely going to look into that. Any other cost-saving tips?
Yeah, don't be afraid to shop around and get multiple quotes from different companies before making a decision.
That's always a good idea, no matter what kind of service you're looking for.
Absolutely. Knowledge is power when it comes to making informed decisions.
Okay, so it's about being proactive, doing your research, and finding a trusted HVAC partner. Great advice. Now, before we wrap up, I have to ask about all those smart home technologies out there. How do they fit into the HVAC world, and are they worth the hype?
Ooh, smart home tech. That's a whole other deep dive we could do.
Right, maybe next time.
But yeah, smart home technology is definitely changing the HVAC game. Smart thermostats, which we talked about earlier, are just the beginning. Imagine a world where your HVAC system can communicate with your other smart home devices.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Right. It could adjust temperatures based on your location, the weather outside, or even your personal preferences.
So it's like having a personal HVAC butler.
Exactly. And beyond just comfort, smart home technologies can also enhance energy efficiency. Imagine a system that monitors your energy usage in real time and provides recommendations on how to optimize your settings.
So it's like having an HVAC energy coach.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's all about making your home more comfortable and energy efficient.
I love it. Well, this has been incredibly informative. I feel like I've learned so much about how to keep my home comfortable and my HVAC system running smoothly.
It's been a pleasure diving into this topic with you. Always happy to share my HVAC knowledge.
And to our listeners, thank you so much for joining us on this HVAC adventure. We hope you feel empowered to take control of your HVAC systems and make informed decisions.
Stay curious, everyone.
And be sure to tune in to our next deep dive where we'll be exploring another fascinating topic.
Until then, stay cool and stay informed.